So I encourage you to stay tuned and stay attentive, because what we're about to uncover could very well be the key to unlocking your next big move, the next chapter of your life that you've been waiting for. Sometimes the first sign God gives us before a breakthrough is one we often overlook: discomfort. Yes, discomfort is one of the clearest warning signs that something in your life is about to change. Have you ever felt a restlessness, an unease that you just couldn't shake? It might have been the nagging feeling that there's more to your life than what you're currently experiencing. This discomfort can manifest in many ways. Perhaps you're feeling unsatisfied in your current job, unsettled in a relationship, or spiritually dry. No, it's the feeling that everything is in disarray, like you're standing at the crossroads of your life, unsure of which way to go, yet knowing deep down that you can't stay where you are. This discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong with you. Rather, it's a sign that God is stirring something in your soul, preparing you for what's ahead. It's the feeling that you can no longer remain in the same place because God is calling you to move forward. When we experience discomfort, we often want to ignore it or bury it under the surface. But this is where God's warning signs are trying to get our attention. The spiritual discomfort you're feeling might be the first indicator that something incredible is on the horizon. This discomfort is actually a divine invitation to step out of your comfort zone and trust God's plan. Think about it for a moment. When you're too comfortable, you don't feel the urgency to grow, to change, or to step into something new. But when you feel that internal restlessness, it's like a spiritual push that is driving you forward, urging you to move beyond what's familiar and into the unknown, into a place of faith and trust in God. God is preparing your heart for something greater, but He needs you to respond to that discomfort by leaning into Him, not away from Him. When we resist discomfort, we often end up prolonging the process of our breakthrough. It's like trying to put off the pain of a necessary surgery. You know deep down it has to happen, but you avoid it out of fear. However, when we embrace discomfort, when we allow ourselves to sit in that space of tension, we begin to see the breakthrough clearer. The discomfort we feel isn't a curse. It's the fertile ground for growth. It's God's way of getting our attention and preparing us for the greater things that are ahead. You might be wondering, why does God allow me to feel uncomfortable? The truth is, discomfort is often the precursor to transformation. In the Bible, we see numerous stories of people who had to face discomfort before stepping into their divine purpose. Take Moses, for example. Before he led the Israelites out of Egypt, he experienced years of exile and uncertainty in the wilderness. It was in that discomfort that God shaped him, molded him, and prepared him for the monumental task ahead. Similarly, Joseph was sold into slavery, thrown into prison, and faced immense hardship before he was placed in a position of great authority. If they had avoided the discomfort, they would have missed their breakthrough moments. The same is true for us. But how do we respond to discomfort when it arises in our lives? Do we resist, or do we lean into it, trusting that God is working behind the scenes? The key to breaking through the discomfort is not to ignore it, but to surrender it to God. When you feel uneasy, instead of trying to fix the situation immediately, pause and ask God what He's trying to teach you. Ask for clarity and direction. Remember that God's timing is perfect, and He won't allow you to go through a season of discomfort without preparing you for something far greater on the other side. This is why it's essential to recognize that discomfort is a divine invitation to prepare for your breakthrough. Don't ignore it. Don't rush to get out of it. Instead, see it as a sign that God is working in your life in ways you might not fully understand yet. He's shifting things, rearranging your priorities, and positioning you for what's next. In those moments of discomfort, you are being refined, shaped, and strengthened for the breakthrough that is coming. As we move forward in this message, I want you to think about the areas in your life where you're feeling unsettled. Is God trying to get your attention in those areas? Is He preparing you for something greater? The breakthrough you're waiting for might not come until you acknowledge that discomfort is part of God's plan. He's preparing you for a season of growth and transformation that will ultimately lead to something more than you could have ever imagined. In the quiet moments of discomfort, when you feel like giving up or running away, that's when you need to trust God the most. The breakthrough is closer than you think, but it requires you to press into that discomfort, to trust the process, and to believe that God is making a way where you see no way. Remember, the discomfort you feel today is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of something far greater. Trust that God is using it to shape you, to mold you, and to prepare you for the breakthrough you've been waiting for. One of the most significant warning signs that God is preparing you for a breakthrough is when you experience sudden interruptions in your plans, These interruptions might feel like a disturbance, a disruption, or a detour from what you thought was the right path. But in reality, these moments are often God's way of getting your attention and aligning your steps with His perfect will for your life. It's easy to become frustrated when life throws a wrench into your carefully laid plans. You may have worked hard to get to a certain point, only to find that things aren't going as expected. Yet what if I told you that these interruptions are not setbacks, but rather setup moments for the breakthroughs God has prepared for you? You see, God's ways are higher than our ways, and His timing is perfect. He's not bound by the limitations of time or space the way we are. So when our lives seem to be thrown off course, it may actually be God's plan to redirect us towards something better than we could have ever imagined. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. Joseph had dreams of greatness, yet his life took many unexpected turns. His brothers betrayed him. He was sold into slavery. And even when he thought he had found favor, he was wrongfully imprisoned. It looked like a series of unfortunate events. But in hindsight, we see that each interruption, each detour led Joseph closer to the very breakthrough that God had for him. The position of power in Egypt, which allowed him to save his family and many others during a time of famine. In our lives, we too often see interruptions as obstacles, something to resist, or as a sign that something has gone wrong. We assume that God's favor has left us, that our plans are ruined, and we begin to question whether we are on the right path. But what if those interruptions were not a sign that we are off track, but that we're actually being led towards something greater? What if we looked at our disruptions through the lens of faith, trusting that God is in control, that He is guiding us even when we can't see the full picture? The key to navigating these interruptions is to approach them with an open heart, trusting that God is at work. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 3:5-6 to trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not on our own understanding. When we face disruptions in our lives, we are tempted to lean on our own understanding, to try and figure everything out according to our limited perspective. But the truth is, God sees the whole picture. He knows the beginning from the end, and He's orchestrating everything in our lives to bring about His divine purpose. So when your plans are interrupted, rather than getting angry or discouraged, take a moment to ask God, what are you trying to teach me in this moment? What do I need to learn, and where are you leading me? God is faithful, and He will answer. Sometimes the breakthrough we are waiting for comes when we are willing to surrender our own plans and trust that God's plan is far better. One of the most powerful lessons we can learn from these interruptions is the importance of patience. It's during times of disruption that we learn to wait on God. In Psalm 27:14, we are reminded, wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Waiting is one of the hardest things for us to do. We live in a world where everything is fast-paced and immediate. We want things now, but God's timing is different. He allows interruptions to teach us to wait on Him, to trust that He is working behind the scenes, even when we can't see the results immediately. When you're in the midst of a disruption, remember that God is working on your behalf. He is preparing you for the breakthrough that's coming, even if you can't see it yet. Take heart in knowing that these interruptions are not obstacles. They are opportunities to grow deeper in your faith, to trust more fully in God's plan, and to be ready for the breakthrough that He has in store for you. These interruptions are often the catalyst for a greater transformation in your life. They are the divine rerouting of your steps, leading you to the place where God's favor will rest upon you. There are times when we become so focused on the destination that we miss the beauty of the journey. In the midst of disruptions and interruptions, there are valuable lessons to be learned. Lessons that will prepare you for the breakthrough. Just like a runner who faces obstacles on the track, each hurdle is an opportunity to strengthen your perseverance, to build your resilience, and to prepare for the finish line. Similarly, the interruptions you face today are preparing you for the finish line that God has in mind for you. They are shaping you, molding you, and getting you ready for what's coming next. God's interruptions are never random or without purpose. They are part of His divine plan to bring you to a place of greater blessing, greater effectiveness in His kingdom. So the next time you face an unexpected disruption, instead of feeling frustrated, take a step back and ask God what He's trying to show you. The interruption might just be the very thing that leads you to the breakthrough you've been praying for. Another crucial warning sign that God is preparing you for a breakthrough is when you experience a deep sense of spiritual unrest. Have you ever felt like something was just not right, even though everything seemed to be going smoothly on the surface? This sense of unrest can manifest in different ways. Maybe you feel uneasy, like there's an unsettling feeling in your spirit. Or maybe you sense that there's more to life than what you're currently experiencing. This inner turmoil, while uncomfortable, can be one of the most powerful signs that God is stirring your heart for something greater. In moments of spiritual unrest, it can feel as if you're caught in a storm. Everything around you might seem to be in chaos, even though it looks like everything is calm and fine on the outside. But these moments are not signs of God's absence. They are the very signs that He is actively working in your life. You see, God has a way of allowing us to experience discomfort when He's about to move us into a new season. He wants us to be aware of the shift, to be sensitive to the fact that He is about to take us to another level. And this restlessness in your spirit is His invitation to press in, to seek Him more intently, and to prepare your heart for the breakthrough that's ahead. This deep sense of spiritual unrest often arises when God is about to challenge us to step outside of our comfort zones. It's in these moments that He's calling us to grow, to expand, and to trust Him in new ways. God's breakthrough plans for our lives often require us to let go of old patterns, old mindsets, and things that have held us back from stepping into the fullness of what He has for us. But in order to let go, we often experience that feeling of unrest, because we know that something is about to change, and it's uncomfortable to leave behind the familiar. Think of the Israelites as they wandered in the desert for 40 years. During that time, there were moments of spiritual unrest. They were uncomfortable, restless, and unsure of where they were going. But God was using that time to prepare them for the land He had promised them. The unrest wasn't a sign of abandonment, but rather a divine preparation for the promise that awaited them. In the same way, the spiritual unrest you feel right now may not be a sign that something is wrong. It's often a sign that God is leading you towards something greater, something more fulfilling. When you experience this unrest, take it as an opportunity to press deeper into God's presence. Often, God uses these moments to call us to a deeper level of surrender. He may be calling you to give up something that's holding you back, to forgive someone, to step into a new area of faith, or to move forward in obedience to His will. These moments of discomfort are God's invitation to open up your heart and to trust Him in new ways. He wants to remove anything that could prevent you from walking fully in His blessings. And sometimes He allows us to experience restlessness to shake us out of complacency and to bring us closer to the breakthrough that He has in store. The Bible tells us in Philippians 3:13-14 that we must forget what is ahead and strain toward what is ahead. This sense of spiritual unrest often arises when we are stuck in the past. Whether it's past failures, past fears, or past disappointments, we can feel trapped by our memories, but God is always moving us forward. He is inviting us to press ahead toward the greater things He has planned for our lives. That feeling of discomfort, that stirring in your spirit, is not something to fear. It's God's way of showing you that He's leading you into a new season. It's a reminder that you are not meant to remain where you are. He is calling you to something more. But here's the key. Don't ignore that sense of unrest. It's easy to try and distract yourself to avoid the discomfort. But if you do, you may miss out on the breakthrough that God has prepared for you. Instead, embrace it. Lean into it. Ask God to show you what it is He wants you to learn in this season of discomfort. It may not be easy, and it may not feel good in the moment, but it will be worth it when you see the breakthroughs that God has waiting for you on the other side of your obedience. In those moments when you feel uneasy, ask yourself, What is God trying to teach me right now? Is there something I need to release? Is there an area of my life that I need to surrender more fully to Him? These moments of unrest are an invitation to grow, to deepen your trust in God, and to step into the next phase of your life's journey. So instead of running away from the discomfort, lean into it and let it draw you closer to God, knowing that He is preparing you for something extraordinary. As you continue to navigate this season of unrest, remember that God is not trying to punish you or make your life difficult. He is refining you, preparing you, and positioning you for a breakthrough that will far exceed anything you could have imagined. Trust that God is using this time of discomfort to mold you into the person He has called you to be. And when you step into the breakthrough, you will look back and see that the unrest was simply part of God's beautiful plan to bring you to a place of greater blessing and greater impact. Another significant warning sign that God is preparing you for a breakthrough is a growing sense of urgency in your spirit. You may begin to feel as if time is running out, or perhaps you're sensing a divine push that urges you to move forward when everything else might seem to be standing still. This urgency is not a sense of panic or anxiety. It is a spiritual nudge from God, telling you that something is about to shift, and He's calling you to respond. It's as if you can feel the weight of what's ahead, even though you don't yet know exactly what that looks like. It's an internal prompting, a divine acceleration that urges you to take action now. You may find yourself waking up at odd hours, feeling restless, or thinking about the future in ways you hadn't before. These feelings aren't coincidences. They are signs that God is stirring you, preparing you for something that is coming quickly, something you may not even fully understand at this moment. Just as we read about how God often worked in the lives of His people, like in the lives of Abraham, Joseph, or Esther, there are moments when God places an overwhelming urgency in the hearts of His children to move toward their destiny, even when the full picture isn't yet clear. It's God's way of preparing you for something that you can't ignore, something that will require your immediate attention and obedience. If you've ever experienced a season of urgency, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's not just an ordinary sense of waiting. It's the sense that God is getting ready to do something big, and He's inviting you to be a part of it. The urgency you feel isn't a pressure to rush without thought, but a call to be aware and to be obedient. It's a warning sign that God is getting ready to do a new thing in your life, and it's time to step up and trust His timing. In those moments, your spiritual antenna should be on high alert, watching and waiting for God's direction. He's not calling you to act out of panic or fear, but to move in faith, knowing that He is orchestrating everything for His glory. This sense of urgency might come when you least expect it, during a time of rest, or even in the midst of chaos. It often arrives when we are least prepared, but exactly when we need it most. Perhaps you've been stuck in a routine, feeling comfortable or complacent, and suddenly something shifts. The urgency begins to grow, and you start feeling compelled to make a decision, to move forward or to prepare yourself for something you've never done before. This could be God's signal that your breakthrough is on the horizon, and He is calling you to prepare your heart and mind for what's coming. You may find yourself asking questions like, "Oh, why do I feel like I need to do this now?" Or, "Oh, why is this weighing so heavily on me?" These are not questions that need to be answered immediately, questions that invite you to lean into God's presence. It's in those moments of questioning that God is speaking the loudest, asking you to trust Him even when the path seems unclear. He's not just preparing you for a breakthrough. He's also preparing you to be the vessel through which that breakthrough will come. Think of the Israelites again. They were living in slavery for hundreds of years before God raised up Moses to lead them out. When the time came, there was an urgent sense of mission that swept through them. God told them to prepare themselves for a sudden departure, and there was no time to waste. The urgency was real. The call to move was immediate. It was in that urgency that God positioned them for their breakthrough, a breakthrough that would forever change the course of history. In the same way, when God places an urgency in your heart, it's not just about what you're supposed to do next. It's also about positioning you for the breakthrough that is coming. God is preparing you for a moment where your obedience will unlock the doors to His plans. Don't dismiss the urgency you feel. Instead, lean into it. Let it drive you closer to Him. Be sensitive to the ways He is leading you. Trust that He is guiding you, even when you don't fully understand the destination. Remember, urgency is not about running ahead of God. It's about moving at His pace, responding to the call when He asks you to. It's about being ready to take action when He opens the door and knowing that His timing is always perfect. Don't rush ahead or try to force things. Instead, allow the urgency to be a prompt to prepare, to listen, and to step forward in obedience. When you do, you'll discover that God's perfect timing will unlock the breakthrough you've been waiting for. As you navigate this season of urgency, ask God to help you recognize His voice clearly. Ask Him to give you the discernment to know when to move and when to wait. Urgency doesn't mean you need to act impulsively. It means you need to respond in faith and trust that God is calling you to something bigger than yourself. Embrace the urgency and get ready for the breakthrough that God is about to release in your life. Another warning sign that God is preparing you for a breakthrough is the feeling of isolation or being in a season of separation. When God is getting ready to do something powerful in your life, He often removes distractions, people, and things that no longer serve your purpose. This can be a confusing and even painful season, but it is also one of the clearest signs that God is setting the stage for something greater. Just as Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness before His public ministry began, you too may find yourself in a season of isolation or separation, where it feels like the world has gone quiet and you are left alone with God. This sense of isolation is not meant to harm you or make you feel abandoned. Rather, it is a necessary process for growth and preparation. In the quiet moments, God can speak to your heart in ways that are impossible to hear when there are too many distractions around. It is during this time of separation that God refines you, strengthens your faith, and prepares you to handle the responsibilities that come with your breakthrough. Much like a seed planted in the soil, it must go through a period of darkness and growth before it can sprout and bear fruit. For many, this season of isolation feels uncomfortable. You may experience loneliness, rejection, or even confusion about why you are being set apart. But understand that God is doing something in you that will be evident in due time. Think of the Apostle Paul. Before he became one of the most influential leaders in the early church, he spent years in seclusion and reflection. God had to first prepare him, teaching him in the quiet spaces, so that when the time came for him to step into his calling, he was ready. God doesn't waste any season. Every moment of isolation has a purpose. During this season, it's crucial that you lean into God's presence. The temptation is to fight the feeling of being alone, to fill the silence with noise, or to distract yourself from the discomfort of separation. But it's in those moments of solitude that God is often speaking the loudest. He is drawing you closer to Him, refining your character, and preparing your heart for what is to come. This is a time to surrender your plans, your desires, and your own understanding, and allow God to work in you. You may be in a place where it feels like you are standing still, while others around you seem to be moving forward with their lives. You might even wonder if God has forgotten about you. But trust me when I say that your season of isolation is not wasted. God is positioning you just as He positioned David in the fields tending to sheep before he was called to be king. He wasn't alone by accident. He was being shaped for greatness. Similarly, God is preparing you in the hidden moments, away from the eyes of the world, so that when it's your time to step into the breakthrough He has for you, you will be ready to carry the weight of that blessing. There are lessons that you can only learn in isolation. In the solitude, God will begin to reveal the parts of your character that need refinement. He will teach you patience, trust, and humility, qualities that are essential for handling the breakthrough that's coming your way. The road ahead may seem uncertain, but God is using this time to build your foundation. You may feel like you're waiting for something big, but God is waiting for you to be spiritually ready for what He's about to do. Every step of this process is necessary. In the silence of isolation, you are not forgotten. God sees you, He hears your prayers, and He is actively working in your life. This time of separation will lead to a deeper understanding of who you are in Christ and a stronger dependence on Him. If you have felt the weight of being alone, take heart. God is using this season to prepare you for what lies ahead. The breakthrough you are waiting for will require a new level of maturity, And it's in this time of separation that God is building that maturity in you. When you feel isolated, remember that this is God's time to mold you into the person you need to be in order to handle the breakthrough He is preparing for you. Just as the potter shapes the clay, God is shaping you, refining you, and making you into the vessel He can use. Trust that this season of isolation is not one of abandonment, but one of preparation. Embrace the quiet, lean into God's presence, and allow Him to work in you. Remember, your breakthrough is not just about the external circumstances changing. It's about you being internally prepared to handle the weight and responsibility of that breakthrough. God wants to bless you, but He also wants you to be ready for that blessing. This season of isolation, though challenging, is one of the greatest gifts God can give you as it prepares you for the breakthrough that is coming. Trust Him in the quiet, for He is at work. There is also a warning sign that comes in the form of a sudden shift in your circumstances. You might experience what seems like a series of setbacks, failures, or unexpected challenges, and it can leave you feeling confused or even frustrated. It's easy to believe that these changes are a sign of defeat or a signal that God is absent from your life. However, in reality, these shifts are often part of God's plan to prepare you for the breakthrough that is on the horizon. In fact, God often uses disruptions in our lives to reposition us, realign us with His purpose, and position us for greater things. Think of Joseph, who, despite having dreams of greatness, was sold into slavery by his own brothers. He was thrown into a pit, betrayed, and ended up in an Egyptian prison. All of these were setbacks, but they were also the very steps that led him to the throne. Joseph's life is a powerful reminder that when God is preparing us for something greater, the road can be full of detours, delays, and disruptions. Yet in the midst of all these challenges, God was orchestrating His path, preparing him to save nations and fulfill His purpose. Similarly, in your own life, the shifts you are facing may feel like obstacles, but they are often God's way of guiding you toward your breakthrough. You may be going through a season of loss, failure, or difficulty, but these moments are opportunities for growth. In fact, they are often the moments where God reveals Himself most powerfully. When we are at our lowest points, we become more open to His guidance and more dependent on His strength. It's easy to trust God when things are going well, but it's in the tough times, in the shifting of circumstances, that our faith is truly tested and strengthened. God knows exactly what you need in order to be ready for your breakthrough. And sometimes that means a shift in your circumstances. It might feel uncomfortable, and it may take you out of your comfort zone, but know that it's part of His process. It's during these moments of disruption that He teaches us to rely not on our own understanding, but on His wisdom. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. So when you face these shifts, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what is God trying to teach me in this season? What is He revealing to me through these changes? It's easy to be consumed by the frustration of the moment, but often it's in the discomfort that God reveals His plans for us. If you look closely, you may begin to see His hand guiding you in ways that you didn't expect. He is positioning you, rearranging your circumstances, and opening doors that you may not even realize are meant for you. These sudden shifts also often prompt us to release our plans. So often, we hold tightly to our own ideas of how our lives should unfold. We have a picture of what success looks like and what our future should hold, but God's ways are higher than ours. Sometimes the disruption we experience is His way of asking us to surrender our own plans and trust that His are better. Isaiah 55:8-9 says, "But for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways and my thoughts than your thoughts." These words remind us that even when it doesn't make sense, God is still in control. One of the greatest breakthroughs we can experience is the breakthrough of trusting God with our future, especially when it looks nothing like what we had imagined. Trusting God with your circumstances, even when they are not what you hoped for, opens the door for His plan to unfold in ways you never dreamed possible. The moment you let go of your own agenda and trust His, you unlock the door to a greater purpose and a greater breakthrough. So when you experience these shifts, remember that it's not the end. In fact, it's often the beginning of something even greater. The difficulties you are facing today could very well be leading you to the breakthrough you've been praying for. God is rearranging your life, positioning you for His purpose, and preparing you for the greatness that is ahead. Don't be discouraged by the disruption. Instead, lean into it. Trust God and know that He is leading you into a future that is far greater than anything you could have planned for yourself. These changes are often God's way of ensuring that we are in the right place at the right time. The future He has for you is better than anything you could have imagined. But in order to receive it, you must be willing to let go of what you thought you wanted and embrace what He has for you. This shift, though uncomfortable, is often the key to unlocking the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Trust the process, trust God's timing, and know that He is preparing you for something amazing. Another sign that God is preparing you for a breakthrough is the presence of deep spiritual longing. You may find yourself feeling a stirring within you, a desire for something more, something greater than your current circumstances. It's as if God is igniting a fire within your heart, pulling you towards something you can't fully understand yet. This deep longing is not a coincidence. It is a divine nudge, a calling that you cannot ignore. It is the Holy Spirit at work in your life, awakening you to your purpose and preparing you to step into your destiny. This longing is often accompanied by a sense of dissatisfaction with the way things are. You may begin to feel restless, unsatisfied with the routines of your daily life, and you may even start questioning the direction you've been heading. It's not that your life is bad, but deep down, you know that God has something greater in store for you. This feeling of discontentment can be frustrating, and it can lead you to wonder if you're just being impatient or ungrateful. But in truth, it is a divine discontentment, a holy dissatisfaction that God uses to propel you towards something far better. In the Bible, we see this same kind of longing in the lives of many great men and women of God. Take Abraham, for example. He was a man of great faith, but he was also deeply dissatisfied with his current circumstances. God promised him that he would become the father of many nations, but when he looked around, all he saw was an old age and a barren wife. Yet this dissatisfaction in Abraham's heart was not a sign of unbelief. It was a sign that God was stirring something within him. God's promise had not yet been fulfilled, but that divine dissatisfaction became the catalyst for a new level of faith and trust in God's timing. When you experience a deep spiritual longing, it is important to recognize that this is not just a desire for something material or temporary. It is the desire for God's will to unfold in your life. It is the longing to step into your calling, to see the dreams God has placed in your heart come to fruition, and to witness the transformation He is bringing to your life. This longing is a powerful tool in God's hands, for it causes you to seek Him with greater intensity, to pray more fervently, and to trust Him more deeply. It is this spiritual hunger that propels you toward the breakthrough that is coming. This longing also brings you into a place of dependence on God. When you are dissatisfied with your current situation, you are more likely to recognize that you cannot change things on your own. You begin to realize that only God can fulfill the deepest desires of your heart. This is where true spiritual growth begins, when you acknowledge your need for God and allow Him to move in ways you cannot control. The Bible reminds us in Matthew 5:6, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." When you feel this deep longing, it is a sign that God is drawing you closer to Himself and preparing you for the breakthrough that you've been waiting for. One of the key aspects of this longing is the persistence to seek God despite the discouragement you may feel. It's easy to become disheartened when you don't see immediate results, especially when you feel like you are waiting for something that has yet to materialize. However, God uses this period of longing to test your patience, your trust, and your ability to persist in prayer. He wants to know that you are willing to wait for His perfect timing and that you will continue seeking Him, even when the answers don't come quickly. In this season of waiting, God is building your faith and preparing you to handle the breakthrough He is bringing your way. It is also during this time of longing that God refines your desires. He takes the time to purify your heart and reveal the true motivations behind your prayers. As you seek His will, He shows you that the breakthrough you've been asking for may look different than what you initially thought. Sometimes God's plan is so much greater than what we can imagine. He may refine your desires so that they align more closely with His will, ultimately leading to a breakthrough that is more fulfilling than anything you could have planned for yourself. When you feel this deep spiritual longing, take it as a sign that God is doing something profound in your life. Don't ignore it or try to fill the emptiness with temporary distractions. Instead, press into that longing and allow it to lead you closer to God. Use this time to draw near to Him, to seek His face, and to trust that He is working behind the scenes to bring about the breakthrough you are yearning for. This is a holy discontentment that has the power to transform your life, but only if you allow it to lead you to a deeper relationship with God and a greater dependence on His timing and His plan. As you wait for the fulfillment of God's promises, keep in mind that He is always faithful. His timing is perfect, and His plans for you are far greater than anything you can comprehend. Embrace the spiritual longing that you are experiencing and use it as fuel to draw closer to God. The breakthrough you've been praying for is on its way, and this longing is the sign that God is preparing you for something extraordinary. Stay faithful, stay persistent, and trust that God will fulfill the desires of your heart in His perfect time. As you press on through this waiting season, it's important to recognize another key sign that God is preparing you for a breakthrough: the presence of divine interruptions. These interruptions may come in many forms, but they always carry with them the unmistakable fingerprint of God's sovereignty. It may be something as simple as a conversation that seems to come out of nowhere, or an event that disrupts your normal routine. These divine interruptions are not random. They are orchestrated by God to lead you closer to the breakthrough He has planned for you. These interruptions can often be uncomfortable. They may catch you off guard, challenge your plans, or force you to step out of your comfort zone. But the key to understanding them is in recognizing that God is using them to get your attention. It's as if He is gently nudging you, saying, "I have something better for you, but you need to shift your focus." These divine interruptions are often the moments that lead to life-changing decisions or realizations. They are not accidents. They are part of God's master plan to position you exactly where you need to be. The Bible is full of examples of people who experienced divine interruptions right before their breakthrough. Take, for example, the Apostle Paul. Before his conversion on the road to Damascus, Paul was a man with a clear mission. He was actively persecuting Christians, believing that he was doing the right thing. But in an instant, God interrupted his life. A bright light shone around him, and he was knocked to the ground. This was not just a random event. This was a divine interruption that would change the course of Paul's life forever. That moment, though shocking and disruptive, set the stage for Paul to become one of the most influential apostles in history. Similarly, many people in the Bible experienced divine interruptions just before their breakthrough. Moses, for instance, had his life radically interrupted when God spoke to him through a burning bush in the wilderness. This interruption changed the trajectory of Moses' life, leading him to become the deliverer of the Israelites. Abraham's life was interrupted when God called him to leave everything he knew and go to a land that God would show him. Each of these interruptions, though challenging, was a pivotal moment that set the stage for God's miraculous work in their lives. These interruptions often require us to step out in faith and obedience, even when it doesn't make sense. You may find yourself in a situation where everything seems to be going well, and then suddenly something unexpected happens that throws you off course. It's easy to become frustrated or confused during these times, but remember that God is in control. These interruptions are not setbacks. They are part of His divine plan. He is aligning things in your life in such a way that you will be prepared to step into the breakthrough He has in store for you. It's important to note that divine interruptions often bring new perspectives. When God interrupts your life, it's as if He's saying, "I need you to look at this differently." It's a call to broaden your understanding, to see beyond your immediate circumstances, and to trust that He is at work in ways you cannot yet fully comprehend. Sometimes the breakthrough you are waiting for will only come when you stop relying on your own understanding and start trusting that God knows what is best for you. These interruptions help you shift your focus from your own plans to His purposes. If you find yourself experiencing these disruptions instead of resisting them, take a step back and ask God what He is trying to teach you. Seek His guidance and ask for wisdom to understand what He's trying to show you through these interruptions. It's easy to think that life is supposed to be smooth and predictable, but in reality, the interruptions are often where God does His deepest work. Don't be afraid of the discomfort. It's often in the discomfort that God brings growth, clarity, and direction. These moments of divine interruption also serve as divine confirmation. God will often use them to confirm His calling on your life, to affirm the direction you are heading, and to remind you that you are not alone in the process. It's as if He is saying, you are on the right path. Keep going. I am with you, and I will guide you every step of the way. These confirmations help you stay on track, even when the journey feels uncertain or overwhelming. They give you the confidence to move forward in faith, trusting that God is in control. In your own life, you may experience divine interruptions in various ways. It could be a sudden change in circumstances, a person who speaks into your life at just the right moment, or even a small, seemingly insignificant event that causes you to pause and reflect. Whatever form it takes, remember that these interruptions are not coincidences. They are God's way of getting your attention, recalibrating your heart, and positioning you for the breakthrough that is just around the corner. So when you encounter an interruption, instead of seeing it as an obstacle, begin to see it as an opportunity for growth, for deeper understanding, and for closer communion with God. These moments may feel disruptive, but in truth, they are part of a divine plan that will lead you toward the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Trust God in the interruptions, because they are often the very catalyst that prepares you for the miraculous things He has in store. As you move forward in your journey, trusting in God's timing and listening for His guidance, it's important to understand that faith and perseverance are the final keys to unlocking your breakthrough. The road may seem long and the signs may not always be clear, but God is never silent in your struggles. His timing is perfect, even when it feels like the breakthrough you're waiting for is taking forever to come. As you face the delays, frustrations, and unanswered prayers, remember that God is not ignoring you. He is preparing you. In times of waiting, perseverance becomes a powerful force. It's easy to become disheartened when your prayers seem to go unanswered, when you're confronted with setback after setback. But God uses this time to strengthen your resolve, deepen your faith, and refine your character. The breakthrough you're waiting for is not just about what God will give you. It's about what He wants to do in you before He gives it to you. Perseverance is essential, for it is in the waiting that you learn to trust, to lean on God's promises, and to surrender your will to His. Remember the words from Romans 5:3-4. We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. This is the very essence of what you're experiencing. The struggle you're going through is shaping you. Disappointments are building endurance in your spirit. And with every trial, your character is being honed. And as your character strengthens, your hope in God's promises grows, even when you can't see the immediate result. As you wait for your breakthrough, you might wonder if it will ever come. You may be tempted to doubt God's faithfulness, but do not give in to those thoughts. God is at work even in the waiting. Just like a farmer plants seeds and waits for them to grow, God is nurturing your heart, preparing the soil of your life, so that when the breakthrough arrives, you will be ready to receive it with a heart full of gratitude and praise. Trusting in God's promises is essential. His word is unchanging and His promises are steadfast. The Bible tells us in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." This is a promise that God has made to each of us. Even in the moments when it feels like God is silent, His plans for you are still unfolding. His purpose for your life has not been thwarted. The waiting period is part of His plan, and in it, He is preparing you for something greater than you could ever imagine. Perseverance in the face of trials is not easy, but it is crucial. It's not about how long you wait, but how you wait. Will you wait in faith, trusting that God is working all things together for your good? Will you wait with patience, knowing that His timing is perfect? Or will you grow weary and lose heart, unable to see the bigger picture of what God is doing. The key is to remain faithful, to continue walking with God, even when the path seems unclear. Your breakthrough is coming, but it will be all the more powerful because of your perseverance. As you stand firm in your faith, you will begin to see the signs of God's promise coming to fruition. Just like a seed that is planted in the ground, your breakthrough is growing beneath the surface, even when you cannot see it. In due time, it will break through the soil, and you will experience the fruit of your perseverance. But that fruit will be sweeter because of the journey. The waiting, the prayers, and the trials you've gone through will all make the breakthrough even more meaningful. Throughout the Bible, we see countless stories of perseverance leading to breakthrough. Abraham, Sarah, Joseph, Moses, and many others endured seasons of waiting. But in the end, God's promises were fulfilled. They didn't know when, how, or even if the breakthrough would come, but they trusted in God. And He came through for them in ways beyond what they could have imagined. Now, as you prepare to step into your own breakthrough, keep your eyes on Jesus. He is the author and finisher of your faith, and He will guide you through every step of the journey. When the time is right, your breakthrough will come. It might look different than you expected, but it will be exactly what you need. Trust that God knows exactly what He is doing, and that His plans are always for your good. The key is to stay focused on the signs He is giving you, those moments of divine interruption, those quiet whispers in your heart, and the strength you feel even in your weakest moments. These are all reminders that God is with you and that He is working behind the scenes to bring about your breakthrough. So do not give up. Keep pressing forward, knowing that the best is yet to come. Your breakthrough is not just a future event. It's a present reality, unfolding with every step you take in faith. As you continue to trust God and persevere, you will soon find yourself stepping into the new season He has prepared for you. A season of joy, peace, and divine fulfillment. The waiting will have been worth it. Your breakthrough is just around the corner. Keep the faith because God is faithful.